So hello buddy, we have now chapter colonial cities, urbanizations, planning and architecture, NCERT textbook. First question is, to what extent are census data useful in reconstructing patterns of urbanizations in the colonial context? A careful study of census reveals some fascinating trends in urbanization in 19th century. Support the statement with facts. So, a careful study of data collected through the census provides us a lot of information in understanding the trends of urbanizations. First, the process of urbanization was slugged in India after 1800. In the 19th century, in the first two decades, the 20th century, the proportion of the urban population was very low and stagnant, which recorded between 19 to 1914 13% increase in the urban population was recorded between during the same period, and there was overall 10% of population in the whole country urban area. The data thus collected helps the enumeration of people according to the age, sex, caste, religions and occupation. Now what do the terms white and black town signify? The British had white skin as they were often described white and they considered themselves as superior to others. On the other hand, the black had brown or black skin. So they were known as the black. White signified the supreme superiority over the black due to the color of their skin. The British symbolized the black areas full of chaos and anarchy, filth and disease, and on the other hand, the white areas stood for cleanliness and hygiene. In black areas, epidemics like cholera and plague often broke out. So the British took stringent measures to ensure sanitation and public health to prevent disease of the black areas. They ensured underground piped water supply and introduced sewage and drainage system in white areas. Thus, we can say that white towns were those parts of the colonial towns where the white people lived. These towns had wide roads, barracks, churches, parade grounds, big bungalows, and gardens. They symbolized settled cities' life, whereas the Indian lived in black towns, and they were said to be unorganized and a source of filth and disease. Now, what is the third question? So, how did prominent Indian merchants stabilize themselves in the colonial city? How did prominent Indian merchants stabilize in colonial cities? So, prominent Indian merchants and traders settled in colonial cities like Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. They served as agents or middlemen of the British and lived traditionally built courtyard house in the Black Town. They centered over large tracts of lands in their cities and heavy made investment for the future. They wanted to impress the British master or colonial ruler or white people in living the white towns by giving lavish parties during festival seasons and built temples to stabilize their supremacy and prestige in society. Now, the fourth question is examine how concern of defense and health gave shape to Calcutta. So, Sirajud-Dowla was Nawab of Bengal in 1756. He sacked the small fort from Britishers. In this sort of British traders had built to house their goods. Consequently, when Sirajud-Dowla was defeated in the Battle of Plassey, the British built a new fort, Fort William, which could not be easily attacked. Around this, a vast open space was left. The open space was called the Maidan and Garer Math. This was done for security reasons because there would be no obstructions to a straight times of fire from the foreign against an advancing enemy army. Soon the British began to move out of the fort. They built residences along the periphery of the Maidan. This indicates that how the English settlements in Calcutta began to take shape. The vast open space around the Fort William became the significant town planning measures in Calcutta and now Kolkata. Lord Wellesley was more concerned about the conditions that existed in the cities. Cities were overcrowded and no sanitation facilities. He issued the administrative order in 1803 on the need for town planning and set up various committees for the purpose. Open places in the cities would make the cities healthier. As a result of this, many bazaars, ghats, burial grounds, and tanneries were cleared and removed. After Wellesley's departure, the Lottery Committee carried on with the work of town planning in Calcutta. So this was all about the question 4, concern of defense and health in Calcutta. The fifth question, what were the different colonial architecture styles which can be seen in Bombay cities? So in the past, buildings were at odds with the traditional Indian buildings. Gradually, Indians too got used to European architecture and made it their own. British in turn adopted some Indian styles to suit their needs. Example in the Bangla, which was used by government officer in Bombay. The colonial Bangla was set on extensive grounds which ensured privacy. The traditional pitched roof and surrounding veranda kept the Bangla cool in summer months. These Bangla can still be seen in the city. Other than the traditional style, the decoration and building exist. The lack of space in the city and crowding led to type of building unique in Bombay, the chawl. The sixth question in front of us is how were urban centers transformed during the 18th century? So the disintegration of the Mughal Empire after the death of Aurangzeb paved the way of emergence of powerful regional powers. The capital cities of these regional kingdoms like Lucknow, Pune, Nagpur and Barda now became important. Taking the advantage of the opportunity, many nobles and officials treated new urban settlements such as Kaaba and Ganj. The European companies too set up their bases in different parts of India. During the 16th and 17th century, for example, the Portuguese in Panaji in 1517 and British in Madras in 1639. With the expansion in commercial activity, towns began to emerge as trading center. From the mid-18th century, trading center like Surat and Dhaka, which had grown in the 17th century, now began to decline and trade shifted to the other places. When the British acquired Bengal and the East India Company trade thereafter expanded the colonial part cities like Madras and Calcutta. These are the port cities. These new port cities began to emerge as the new economic capitals, and in these newly developed cities, many new people were built and new occupations developed. People flocked into these cities in large numbers by the 19th century. They newly developed cities became the biggest cities in India. I think we have some two or three questions. So the question number seven is why were the new kinds of public places that emerged in the colonial city? What function they serve? The Indian found the new colonial cities as bewildering. They were separation the new transport facilities available here, the means of transportation facility which included horse-drawn carriages, Dream 11 and buses, Tram 11, enable the people to live as far as away places from the city center. Now, emergence of new public places, the new colonial cities far away places witnessed new public places such as theaters, cinema halls, gardens, public parks, etc. Beside these were clubs and garden houses. Functions of these were as they were newly created public places were very exciting. They were the important source of entertainment and helped in increasing social interactions. The people were all able to express them opinions on society and government. They could also question the practice of social customs. We have question number eight. What were the concern of influenced town planning in the 19th century? So the concern which influenced the town planning was defense and health. In many towns, British built fort to protect their factories. Around the fort, a vast open space was left open. This vast space was known as Maidan. It was done that there would be no obstruction to a straight line of fire from fort against the advancing enemy. Attempts were also made to improve the sanitation and cleanliness by creating open spaces in the city. For this purpose, in Calcutta, many bazaars, ghat, and burial grounds were cleared. To what extent were social relations transformed in the new cities? There was a big contrast between extreme wealth poverty in the new cities, new means of transport facilities such as horse draw carriages, trains, buses made traveling from home to work an interesting experience, and the creation of public places like theatre, public parks, and cinema hall provided new forms of entertainment. So I think, yeah, new social groups were found of all classes starting to migrate into the cities with the increased demand of lawyers and engineers. The middle class increased debates and discussion become popular and stabilized social norms and practices were questioned. So cities also offered new opportunities for women. They choose new professions in the cities as factory workers, teachers, film actors, etc. For a long time, women remained object of society censors. So now question number 10 on the outline map of India trace the so you can read the question and fill the map. So this is all about the chapter that is colonial cities, urbanization, planning and architecture. So it's me signing off.